A judge ruled yesterday that Trump is a lying, a fraudster. The judge ruled what you and I have known ever since this filthy pig descended from heaven on the escalator. Did you ever think the Antichrist would enter the world on an escalator? No, neither did I. And I don't think the writers of the original Christian mythologies ever thought he would arrive on an escalator either. But he did. Anyway, the judge ruled that Trump committed fraud for years while conning and lying and grifting and stealing and thugging as he built his real estate so-called empire that got him into fame on NBC television, for Christ's sake. And I almost choke when I say this, into the White House, into the presidency. And the judge ordered that some, I don't know why not all, some of the Orange Bastards companies be taken out of his control and dissolved. It was a dissolution order. In other words, what the judge is saying, I'll put it in Malloy words, what the judge is saying to Trump and his lawyers, you rotten fuckers have conned and lied and stolen and cheated so much. Now we're going to take your ability to do that any further out of your hands. We're going to dissolve your companies, you bunch of cheating bastards. Yeah, the judge wasn't even close to saying that, although the judge did, in judge terms, really lose his shit a couple of times with Trump's attorneys. Trump wasn't there, of course. He doesn't show up for these irritating little court hearings. You know, over the course of his miserable, rotten life, Trump has probably been sued or sued other people hundreds upon hundreds of times. And, you know, that's why he sucks money out of the dumbasses who sent him contributions. He uses that money to pay off his attorneys, the ones who will still represent him without having to get attorneys of their own, right? Anyway, the judge in this, named Arthur Engoron, was ruling in a civil lawsuit brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James. And the judge found that the Orange Bastard and his company cheated, lied, and deceived banks, cheated, lied, and deceived insurers, cheated, lied, and deceived anybody who came within 10 blocks of this son of a bitch by massively overvaluing his assets when it was necessary and undervaluing his assets when it came time to pay taxes or whatever. And also found that the Orange Bastard grossly exaggerated his net worth on paperwork that was used to make these deals and secure these loans. Now, you know, my only question when this was all revealed yesterday and it hit the hit television, hit MSNBC and CNN yesterday, and briefly on the network news shows, my major question was, you mean after 40, 50 years of this rancid cockroach screwing the hell out of banks and insurance companies and investors, now finally somebody is saying he's been screwing the hell out of banks, investors, and insurance companies? I guess, you know, this is the thing about the capitalist system. The insurance companies that have all the money. It's not banks that have all the money. Please don't think that. It's insurance companies that have all the money. But when banks and insurance companies see a fraudster, a liar, a cheating son of a bitch like Donald Trump, who is operating on a level that makes them partners. You know, if I go to the bank and make an auto loan, the bank owns a little piece of me. Well, it owns my car. And it owns my car until I pay it off. But when Trump would go to a bank, the amounts of money that he would con these bankers into giving him, and they knew they were being conned, they were willing to go along with the con because the amount was so huge, the various amounts, they knew that they were entering into a partnership with Trump. With me, I become a debtor if I go to the bank and borrow money for a mortgage or a car payment, whatever. But Trump became a partner, or the banks became a partner with Trump. And through the business, the capitalist system, with insurers and reinsurance companies and this and that and the other thing, up and down the food chain of capitalism, The truth be told, that very few banks or insurance companies ever lost money on this fraud son of a bitch. The people who lost money were people who were not in the business of making the loans to him to begin with. People who provided the intellectual efforts or the physical efforts to make Trump wealthy. Trump never was a billionaire, but he certainly was worth tens of millions of dollars. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. The judge ordered that some of Trump's business licenses be rescinded as punishment, where he can't do business in New York anymore. Oh, man, kick him to the goddamn curb. I mean, for real. And, you know, that taking away his business licenses would make it impossible for him to do business in the state of New York. And the judge also said that he's going to continue to have what he called an independent monitor ride herd on Trump organization operations. Now, what is lost in so many of these reports of the judge's decision yesterday is the fact that it's not just the orange vomit who has been found guilty. Also his bastard adult sons, those two criminal fucks who strut around the planet as if their father was president of the United States or something, right? Now, what happens next? Well, you know what happens next. Trump's battery of attorneys, who eventually will be fucked themselves, will appeal this. And if it's not successfully appealed, in other words, if an appellate court doesn't overturn this, the order from the judge would take away from Trump his authority to make strategic and financial decisions regarding his businesses and his properties in the state of New York. Take it away from him and his bastard adult sons. And when Trump, oh, Christ, when the order from the judge was issued yesterday, the orange bastard really lost his shit like he always does, with all this faux outrage about how badly he's being treated. It's so unfair. In a series of statements on his toy social media platform and others, he screamed and farted and wheezed about the decision. He called it un-American. And it was all simply part of the ongoing plot to prevent him from becoming president again. Of course it is, you slimy son of a bitch, you. But let me give you a direct quote. Try to figure out how many times he says violated or sad or unfair. Anyway, this is his quote. My civil rights have been violated, and some appellate court, whether federal or state, must reverse this horrible un-American decision. My company has done a magnificent job for New York State, and we've done business perfectly. It's a very sad day for the New York State system of justice. Oh, you poor shit, you poor miserable little shit. Yeah, it's all just designed to stop you from living your Nazi, sick, perverted life, right, Trump, ever since you came down from heaven on your escalator. Oh, my God. Now, one of Trump's sleazy lawyers, this asshole's named Christopher Kise, he said that they're going to appeal. And Christopher called the decision by the judge, quote, completely disconnected from the facts and governing law. What? Completely disconnected from the facts? Yeah, okay. Now, the ruling, this is not the result of a trial. As a matter of fact, this non-jury trial in Letitia James' lawsuit against Trump is due to begin, what's today, Wednesday? I think Friday, isn't it? There's still a trial. Now, the fact that the judge ruled this way means that the decision has already been made as to Trump's culpability in all this, a sleazy bastard. I think the judge now will listen to testimony from both sides and then decide on the penalties. Those I don't think have been decided yet. But in the judge's ruling and Gorin's ruling, it's being called the strongest repudiation yet of, I like this, some AP writer wrote this, of Trump's carefully coiffed image as a wealthy and shrewd real estate mogul turned political powerhouse. Ooh, who wrote that? Anyway, of course, beyond the usual bullshit that pumps out of Trump's mouth in an endless stream where he brags about how rich he is. Remember when he was running for president the first time? He talked about he was so goddamn wealthy, he would never be on the take to anybody. He didn't need anything, right? But of course, what happened to that idea? Well, it was never true to begin with. And Trump, being the grifter that he is, he knows exactly how to squeeze every last dime out of the dumb shits who continue to send him money. I mean, if he's a billionaire, you dumbasses, why are you sending him your 20, 30, 40 bucks that you should spend on food for your screaming children? I mean, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Malloy asked for the 9 millionth time. So beyond just bragging about his wealth, Trump and the key executives in his company, which in so many instances were his two filthy bastard adult grifting sons, and sometimes his daughter, they repeatedly lied about not only what the companies were doing, but lied about the wealth of the family. And he lied, and his sons lied on their annual financial statements. And in doing that, they got these rewards from the capitalist filth that were willing to support Trump, such as favorable loan terms, lower insurance costs. This is what the judge found in Letitia James' investigation of this monster. I know there have been some pundits who say, why punish Trump? He didn't do anything. None of the banks, none of the insurance company lost any money. Whether or not that's true, I don't think you and I will ever know. In the first place, I don't think the banks involved or the insurance companies involved would want the world to know that they had been so severely fucked by this guy and not even given a handful of bend-over stamps when it was all over. So, to the degree that you and I will never know, we have to take the judge's word for it that Trump did this stuff based on the investigation that's been going on for a number of years now. And the judge said that Trump's tactics of lying and cheating and grifting crossed a line, and notice that phrase, crossed a line, and violated the law when I should say, even though Trump said, his lawyer said that a disclaimer on the financial statements absolved him of any wrongdoing. Now, that's the fine print, the shit that you and I never read because our eyes would start to bleed if we tried to on loan statements or insurance statements. You know what I'm talking about. But this is how the capitalist system not only continues to rape and pillage every society in which it eventually operates, but it's also how it protects itself from any liability or any loss or what have you, is in the fine print. The fine print that says, okay, if it turns out that the loan statements are a bunch of bogus bullshit, then we have a right to whatever they have a right to do. But trust me on this, insurance companies and banks don't lose money. The people who lose money are the people who keep supporting through our labor, through our inattention, the capitalist system as it continues, as it has ever since it was constructed, continues to pillage and steal and loot and take what it wants, hand it off to the 0.1% at the top of the economic heap, and the rest of us can just fuck off. I mean, if we don't like it, go whine, go vote for a Democrat, get out of my face, that kind of thing. It was a 35-page ruling that Judge Engoron wrote, and here's a couple of sentences. He wrote, quote, "In defendant's world," that would be Trump and his bastard, filthy adult sons, "in the defendant's world, rent-regulated apartments are worth the same as unregulated apartments. Restricted land is worth the same as unrestricted land. restrictions can evaporate into thin air. A disclaimer by one party casting responsibility on another party exonerated the other party's lies. This is a fantasy world, not the real world. End quote. Now, most of what the judge wrote is beyond my ability to completely comprehend. I mean, for real. I don't know the difference between a regulated apartment and an unregulated apartment. What the hell does that mean? I know there's rent control in certain cities like New York. What is restricted land and unrestricted land? Well, I guess restricted land that is land that's been zoned to eliminate certain kinds of construction. But this gets into the language of the users and the abusers, the people who will see a 50-acre plot of trees, beautiful trees, old growth trees, maybe on the edge of a city like we have here in Atlanta with Cop City, you probably read about. But the developers or the capitalists or the liars and the cheats will see that property and they'll say, let's cut all those trees down and build a shopping mall. So is that what they mean by restricted land and unrestricted land? I have no idea. It all sounds as dirty and filthy as it really is, though, right? Now, the prosecutors in Manhattan who built this case, the ones that work out of Letitia James' office, had looked into bringing criminal charges over Trump's filthy conduct. But they decided not to do that. Why, I don't know. Maybe there's not enough money to prosecute this filthy pig. But that left Letitia James more or less on her own to sue Trump in civil court and seek those penalties that should disrupt his and his filthy family's business ability to continue to do what they call business, what any observer would call fraud, deceit, lies, cheating, and stealing, which is pretty much what the judge called it. So the judge's ruling, it was in a phase of the case known as a summary judgment. You know, the judge will listen to the pleadings of the prosecution and the pleadings of the defense, and before it goes to a jury, the jury hasn't even been impaneled yet, but then the judge will make a summary decision or a judgment, which is exactly what happened. But that resolves, that takes care of the key claim in Letitia James' lawsuit. She won. She kicked Trump's ass up around his shoulders. But several other claims remain. And Judge Engoron said he'll decide on those claims and the prosecutor's quest for $250 million in penalties at this trial that starts October 2nd. Now, the trial is not going to be in front of a jury. It's going to be in front of just the judge. And, of course, Trump's lawyers have asked an appellate court for a delay. We need more time. We've only been fucking everybody for 45 years, Trump and his bastard adult sons, so we need more time. Now, Letitia James, the prosecutor, said in a statement this, quote, "Today, a judge ruled in our favor and found that Donald Trump and the Trump Organization engaged in years of financial fraud. We look forward to presenting the rest of our case at trial." End quote. Woo! Now, for Trump's part, his lawyers, if you want to call them that, in their own summary bid, they asked for a summary judgment too, but one that would say, throw this out of court, there's no case here. In their bid for that kind of a ruling, Trump's lawyers had asked the judge to throw out the case, arguing that there wasn't any evidence that the public was harmed by Trump's actions. And these attorneys also argued that many of the allegations in Letitia James' lawsuit were barred by the statute of limitations. You can't charge us with these crimes, Judge, because we committed them before the statute of limitations ran out. So, yeah. That's kind of the attitude of these jack-offs, right? Now, Judge Engoron, noting that he had rejected those arguments earlier in the case, you know, the ones about the statute of limitations and all that shit, he equated them to the plot of the film Groundhog Day. And I'm not sure if I get that, but the judge fined 5 of the defense lawyers $7,500 each as punishment for, quote, engaging in repetitive, frivolous arguments. So not only do these attorneys have to pay $7,500 apiece, they're probably never going to get paid by Trump either. Anyway, the judge also denied Letitia James' request to sanction Trump and other defendants. Now, I'm not sure what that means either, but it sounds like it was the judge's attempt to be fair, to act in the interests of the law rather than in the interests of the prosecution. And Letitia James sued Trump and the Trump Organization a year ago. And at that point, she accused them of routinely inflating the value of assets like skyscrapers and golf courses and his Mar-a-Lago estate. The Mar-a-Lago estate was one that really got me. I read something the other day that the Mar-a-Lago estate had been determined by the tax assessor in Palm Beach County to be worth, I don't know, $27 million. And yet on one of, or a number of Trump's applications to screw more people out of more money, he put down that the value of Mar-a-Lago was $427 million. In other words, about 15 times what it was really worth. I mean, this guy, oh my God, this guy. Anyway, the judge found that Trump consistently overvalued Mar-a-Lago. And in doing that, he inflated its value on one financial statement by as much as 2,300%. And the judge also said that Trump lied about the size of his Manhattan apartment. Trump claimed that a penthouse was nearly 3 times its actual size, and Trump said it was worth $327 million, and it was worth maybe a fifth of that. Oh, I could go on, but who gives a shit? I'm just glad to see that this orange vomitous son of a bitch is reaching the end of the line where his grifts and his lies and his deceptions are concerned. I hope he lives long enough, though. I really do. I hope he lives long enough to see his entire filthy, fake empire come crashing down into the streets in New York City. You know what I'm saying? Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.